Welcome to the Piston Fanatic. I am your host, Dave Dalton, and I'm excited to share my passion and perspective of our Detroit Pistons as we go on this fantastic voyage together. I've been a diehard Piston fan since the days of Dave Bing and Bob Lanier. I've also been a varsity basketball coach of a very successful program in northern Michigan. Currently, my daughter and I are coaching one of the best AAU teams in the country. And Piston fans, the rumors are going wild. And just have some rumors just recently, just in the last 24 hours, that Cam Whitmore, my favorite, is not in the cards for the Pistons. So we're going to discuss that. We're going to talk about the recent mock draft or what's going to happen there, some of the Pistons choices that we've talked about in the past, the Thompson twins. We're going to talk about the odds for the picks going into the draft. And we're going to talk about a little bit about the Suns and the Wizards and the Bradley Beal deal and Zion Williamson and Chris Paul and some of these other guys. We're also going to take a look back at some of the Piston draft picks. So here we go. I said before this season this was going to be one of the biggest off seasons in Piston history. I still believe that. The lottery went as bad as it could have possibly gone for us. So, and again, that was out of our control. That's just random luck that was bad against our favor. But we did end up with a good coach, which it wasn't going in a positive direction, it didn't seem like, but I'm excited for Monty Williams and his staff. I think he has a great staff that he's hired to go along with that. We have free agency coming up, so the draft is Thursday, and I'm recording this Monday night, and it's just in a couple days, and they're after the draft on July 1st is free agency. So that's when you're going to be hear all the rumors and about the if we make a offer to try to get restricted free agent Cam Johnson. So let's go. Here we go. We're going to talk a little bit about Cam Whitmore. Again, he's my favorite. He's been the favorite of no ceilings. There are some draft guys that really do a great job covering the draft. They have him picked fifth. They think he's a perfect fit for the Pistons. Sam Vecini has him. He did this great thing for The Athletic, his like a 1,000-page draft board and breaking down the draft, and he has him ranked third on his draft board. But there's speculation. James Edwards, just the last 24 hours, sifting through the intel that he's received, that Cam Whitmore's not in the cards. And I think that he didn't have a good workout for the Pistons. That's a rumor going out there. So Edwards thinks that it's between Jarace Walker and the Thompson twins. So at the same time, Jonathan Givony, who covers the draft for ESPN, came on SportsCenter just tonight and said that in the ESPN mock draft last week, Cam Whitmore was number 5 taken by the Pistons in their mock draft. They think now that Cam Whitmore might fall down to 9. And how crazy is that? These guys, it's just hilarious to me. These guys go up and down these draft boards, and they haven't bounced the ball. Well, I guess they bounced the ball at the workouts, since their season's been over for a long time. So just things get momentum. But Givony kind of has supported the same thing, this same information that Cam Whitmore's workouts have not gone great. And I think I discussed last episode, how workouts can be deceptive and how the Pistons haven't always gone off what one workout does. Anybody can have a bad day or whatever. So he said that Jairus Walker, that around the league that people are feeling increasingly comfortable, and I know I have some listeners on this podcast that are really high on Jairus Walker, and again, I've said this over and over again. I like Jairus Walker. I think everybody says he's Troy's kind of guy. He's got the right mentality. He's the right type of person. He's a hard worker. I heard a story that before he got his NIL money, the money that the colleges get to pay players in college, he wanted to make sure that all the walk-ons got paid. So that's a cool story. But he also is great on defense. I reported about how his instincts, if you watch the film, he has just incredible instincts on defense. I just don't think we want him. I think that he's redundant. He's Beef Stew, only he's better than Beef Stew. I would say Beef Stew may be a better three-point shooter right now than he is, but he's a little more athletic than Beef Stew. He has a long wingspan. He's even more mobile than Beef Stew. But all the reports, and if you watch his video, he does not take the ball to the basket. He took the ball to the basket like 2 times in half court against half court defenses. He only drove to the basket like twice a game, and he would settle for floaters and like avoiding contact, which doesn't make any sense because this guy is built. He's big and strong. But again, I don't. Maybe there's rumors because there's some speculation that we could trade Beef Stew. So maybe we think we need a guy to replace him, but we have all those other big guys. We don't have a wing. We don't have a 3-4 that can really take the ball to the basket. And so I'm, just really would like Cam Whitmore. I think his shooting upside is way better. And again, I talked about Walker's. His shot is erratic. He jumps sideways and backwards sometimes, and his arc varies from shot to shot. And he was left wide open. The other teams in college did not guard him, so he got a lot of open threes. And he really shot a low volume, so really, his percentage is a little bit deceptive. So we're gonna see here on Thursday what's gonna happen. So I just know that I want Whitmore, but it looks like he could be dropping it, and I can't. He will not get to 9. I can promise you that. And so there's still the speculation that the best fit for the Pistons probably is Taylor Hendricks. I get confused sometimes by teams. They're not going to take a guy at 5 because he's not good enough to take at 5. But he would be great if you could get him at 8. He would be a steal at 8, but he'd be bad to take at 9. And so you're not going to take a player that even would fit your team the best, which again, I said last episode that I think that Taylor Hendricks is the best. He fits the team the best, but he has the lowest floor. I mean, the highest floor, excuse me. He has the highest floor. He is the best shooter of all these guys. I think Brandon Miller probably is a little bit better, but we're not going to be able to get Brandon Miller. He's an elite shooter. And all these other guys, I think Cam Whitmore is the second best shooter out of all these guys. We're talking about the Thompson twins are bad shooters, and Jarace Walker is not a good shooter, and neither is Anthony Black. And so anyway, there's just not good shooters. But Taylor Hendricks is a phenomenal shooter, and he has great shot blocker, real active, very mobile, real athletic, and so I still think if we don't take Cam Whitmore, I want to take Taylor Hendricks. And there's a lot of talk that other teams in the NBA are more interested in AUSAR Thompson than Amen Thompson. So it is going to drive me nuts until that day. But we still have a lot going for us about all the teams. I mean, we have a high draft pick. We have $30 million in cap space. And we have some really good trade chips, such as Bogdanovich and Burks and Bagley and a lot of other guys that we could possibly throw in, plus the 31st pick. And again, I'm just going to mention I'm not just going to waste your time talking about the 31st pick. There's lots of good guys. I listen to all the podcasts. I know I get a lot of intel on a lot of the guys, but seriously, there's like 20 guys. It easily could fall between, and even more than 20 guys. There's like 20 guys that could fall between the 20th pick in the first round and the 40th pick in the second round. So, that's a lot of guys to try to figure out and to guess. And I hope if we pick that pick for ourselves on Thursday that we get lucky and get a good guy and do a lot of research and really get a good player out of the 31st pick. There's a lot of guys that have been great players that have finished around there, and I think this year there's possibly even more people that could also possibly get there. So probably before this information, I think, I'm not sure if it was DraftKings or which one of those had the odds on for the 5th pick, and at that time, so if you're in a minus number, that means your odds are better than if you're a plus number. But Cam Whitmore still had the best odds, plus 125. AUSAR Thompson plus 340, and so is Jarace Walker is plus 340. Amen Thompson is plus 470, and Taylor Hendricks is plus 1,500. So not very good odds there. So Vegas knows things. I can tell you this. There's something a little bit wrong. Last year, everybody was projecting that Jabari Smith Jr. was going first. It was everywhere. That's what everybody assumed. And just before the draft, the night of the draft, Paulo's numbers for Vegas skyrocketed. So he went to the number, had the best odds, minus 200. So something leaked. Something leaked. He had better odds all of a sudden than, and Paulo was picked to be third pick. And, after Chet. So Chet was up there and Jabari Smith was ahead of him, but he ended up, the Vegas, somehow they knew it. So just to make some comparisons to that, Anthony Edwards, who was picked in 2020, was minus 125. So he was favored to be the first pick, and he was the first pick. Zion was 2,500, which is good odds. So you wouldn't get any money hardly. You'd have to bet a bunch of money to not make any money if you would have picked Zion. So it's fascinating to me that Cade Cunningham was minus 8,000. So he was a bigger favorite than Edwards and Zion and a lot of guys. So it's pretty cool. But Victor is minus 20,000. I would have to speculate that there's never been that high of odds before. And Scoot's plus 4,000. So not very good odds for Scoot to get the number one. I mean, it's impossible odds. So nobody's going to even make those bets. So anyway, we just got to hang in there. It's going to be exciting Thursday night. I'm just keeping my fingers crossed. The other truth about the draft is, you don't even know who won the draft, even for 3 years. I would have to say that you really don't know who's going to be the better player, and even who gets drafted and what system they go to makes a big difference. So, if some players could get drafted by a team that doesn't play them very much or doesn't touch the ball. I told last year that Shaedon Sharpe got picked 7th. I still am higher than anything on him. I think he's going to be a superstar in the NBA, and we'll see if I'm right or wrong. But he played with Damian Lillard, Jeremy Grant, and I can't remember the other guy. Anyway, they had a guard. They had 3 players that shot the ball all the time. So he did not touch the ball, and I watched a lot of their games because I just love watching him play. And he would just kind of go stand on one side of the court and space the floor, and once in a while he'd go back door and they'd lob it up and he'd get his head above the rim and dunk it, or he would catch and shoot, make a 3. And so anyway, a lot of things can happen there. But we're just going to spend a little bit of time. I'm a big believer that my podcast is about our Detroit Pistons, but there is fascinating news that can affect us. The Suns and the Wizards made a trade for Bradley Beal, and this trade is like the most one-sided trade in NBA history, but the Wizards had not much of a choice. So Bradley Beal is the only player in the NBA that had a no-trade clause. So he could nix any deal that he didn't want it, if he didn't want it. So not only like if he wanted to go to Phoenix, but if Phoenix was going to say, we're going to trade Ayton as part of the deal, Bradley Beal could say, no, I want Ayton to be there so I can play with Ayton. So and some people think that really happened. And so they got stuck. But I still think that the Wizards are happy to get off Beal's contract. So Beal, he's making huge money. He's got, we're going to talk about it again. He's making, over 4 years, he's making $207 million. And they're going nowhere. So I've talked before, I don't want the Pistons to be the Wizards. The Wizards have been stuck just in the playoffs or just out of the playoffs for the last 15 years. I'm not sure, I didn't look it up, but for a long, long time, they've either just missed the playoffs or just made the playoffs, but they've never gone anywhere. They've never been any good, and they just get bad draft picks every year they get to draft. This year they tanked at the end, and Beal didn't play, and I think they have the 8th pick. So, other thing is, if the Pistons did trade for their pick, like there's some reports that the Jazz really want Jairus Walker, so they could trade to 5. They have the 9th and 16th pick, so we could trade for that, and I would do it in a heartbeat if I thought I could get Taylor Hendricks at 9, but I don't want to get, stuck getting somebody, Anthony Black. We don't need Anthony Black. He's a guard. I've said that so many times. That same thing with the Thompson twins. If we had just Cade or if we had just Ivy, then I would like Anthony Black or Amen Thompson. I think they would be worth a gamble. I still like Cam Whitmore better, but they still would be worth a gamble. But when we have 2 guys that are both more than capable of being great distributors and number 1 ball handlers, point guards, then you don't want a third one because then there's just not enough minutes and there's not enough possessions for those guys to touch the ball. But yeah, they do have the Jazz have that pick. The Pacers, everybody knows the Pacers got a whole bunch of first round picks and second round picks, so they're going to want to trade some of their picks, and they have the 7th pick. So now we're cooking. So if the Pacers wanted to trade us the 7th pick and the 26th pick, I would maybe do it. So they might a lot of people think Jarace Walker would fit perfect there. So, and of course, I would really love the Magic. They got 6 and 11. So I would throw in a whole bunch of other things. If we got Orlando's 6th and 11th pick and we traded the 5th and the 31st pick and a player that they might want, they need shooting. So maybe they would take Bogey and be happy with that. But we'll have to wait and see. So anyway, talk about the Pelicans want to trade. The Pelicans the NBA has a new collective bargaining agreement, and so they're going to really hammer teams to get way over the cap, way over the second apron, where they pay if they're over 17 million over the salary cap right now, and then they have to pay more money. Not only more money now, but they have a bunch of different things that with draft picks and signing other players that's really going to limit them. And so the Pelicans have got this good team, but Ingram's going to be making a lot of money. Zion's going to be making a lot of money. They're paying C.J. McCollum a lot of money. Trey Murphy, one of my favorite players in the NBA that I would love the Pistons to have, he's going to be coming up for a big contract. So they're looking that they're going to have to trade away. So now they can kind of reset the things they really want Scoot. So if they got Scoot, then he would be on a rookie deal and they could control him for 7 or 8 years at a lower money figure than those guys that are going to be making max contracts. So it's going to be interesting. The NBA and the front offices are going to really have to adapt to this new the new CBA. So anyway, some more rumors. Chris Paul, he got traded to the Wizards in that trade, but the trade is on hold because the Wizards are trying to see if they can get another team to send them some stuff, or they might have to just cut him. And then there's speculation whether the Clippers or the Lakers take him. The Heat say they really want Damian Lillard, and so Pat Riley's done some Magic stuff before. Zach LaVine might be on the trade market. There's speculation that Grant Williams is going to re-sign with the Celtics. A lot of people thought he might sign on the Pistons. A lot of people are taking calls, calling the Suns on Ayton. So they got those great 4 amazing players, but then they have nobody else. They're going to have to put everybody else is going to have to be like on a minimum contract. So it's going to be fascinating next year. But most of all, I'm fascinated about our Pistons. And so, we did a great job last year getting, one of the best draft picks ever. I think Jalen Duren at 13, we got him. Again, Ivy, I love at 5. I would rather have Shaden Sharp. I thought I'd rather have Benedict Mathurin. I'm still not sure about Sharp. I still might have him take him ahead of him. We'll see in 3 years who's better. We got Livers in 21 in the second round, which was a good pick for, he was 42nd player picked. So, he had injuries and stuff, but he still struggled with the injuries. So he's not got to where we have. And of course, we've gotten the great Cade Cunningham, and it's just going to be fascinating how things bounce back this year. But 2020, that was when, it killed me. We got Killian, and I wanted Therese Halliburton so bad. And again, I told people before the draft, I told people at the time of the draft, before the pick was made, and Killian just, again, I'm not a draft expert. I don't get to watch these players in person. I don't get to interview them in person or see their personal workouts. But just based on Killian was a guy that could only go left and wasn't a great athlete. He had good size. He was a really good passer. And anyway, we're going to see what happens to this year's draft. And thank you for listening. Do something nice for somebody today and go Pistons.